Today I'll be discussing about understanding websites and building your own. And designer, and I build websites. I'm the CEO of Pixelwise, and I've been building websites for over 15 years right now. So that's about me. Now we'll get started, and I'm going to discuss about what a website is made up of. So a website is made up of three basic components. One is a domain name, one is a web hosting, and one is web page files. So we'll get to it, and I'm going to discuss every component in detail so that you understand better, because a lot of my clients, they come to me and they don't really understand how a website functions. What exactly is a domain name? A lot of them think like if you buy a domain name, then your website is already dead, but that's not true, right? So I'll get started. So first thing that I'd like to discuss is about web page files. Web page files are basically the core components of the website, which is the CSS, the JavaScript, the PHP file, the HTML files. So everything that makes up a website and everything that renders onto your browser window when you enter a URL is the web page files. The second component is web hosting and server. So a web hosting space could be considered a house. Now if you consider a web server to be a house, then there should be people living inside the house, without which the house is empty, right? So let's consider a person is living inside the house and the person's name is Alex. So just like every individual, this person has a name and this person has identities and characteristics of their own. Let's say Alex's house is within a city, and if Alex's house is within the city, there might be several other houses within the city as well. So if we consider the web server to be a house, and if we consider the city to be the World Wide Web, how would we reach Alex's house if we want to visit Alex? So that's where we would need an address. So if Alex's address was Alex's house at 123 Street, New York City, we would need that address to visit them. That's where domain names come in. A domain name is basically an easy to remember name that allows you to connect with the server. Now every server comes with an IP address, similar to a phone, similar to a mobile device, similar to a router. Everyone has an IP address. And if you were to visit the website without a domain name, you could enter the URL, the IP address in the URL bar, and you could visit the website and the website would render within the browser. Okay. But now, theoretically speaking, that is possible, but you cannot remember so many IP addresses, and you cannot remember so many websites. Like if you were supposed to visit social media, if you were supposed to visit YouTube, if you want to visit Wikipedia, and there's several other websites that we keep visiting daily. So in a day, if you're visiting 20 websites, you have to remember 20 IP addresses, and every IP address is a long string of numbers. Similar to contact books, people used to remember contact numbers, but that isn't feasible right now because you can't remember so many contact numbers. Like you have 1,000 contacts in your phone, you don't remember it. So that's where domain names come in. Now a domain name would basically mask the IP address of the server, and when someone enters the domain name, it would redirect them to the IP address of the server, and the entire website would load up within the browser window. But how exactly do domain names work? You've probably heard about DNS, which is domain name servers, and a domain name server is nothing else but an exchange server. What exactly happens is in a DNS server is when someone types, let's say we type in alex.com, alex.com sends a query to the DNS server. The DNS server has a list and a record of all IP addresses and their associated domain names. So once I enter alex.com, the DNS server sends back a query that alex.com is linked to this particular IP address. Then my browser gets that IP address, it sends it back to the server, and the server renders the website files onto the browser. So that's exactly how a domain name works and how you can view the entire website. Now, a lot of people get confused with what exactly a server is, and a server is basically a computer that is on 24/7. 365 days a year. Now, technically, you could host your website on your personal computer, but there are several downsides of doing so, because personal computers have limited processing capability, they have low bandwidth, and they have low power reliability, because you can't keep your personal computer on 24/7. It's going to corrupt files and everything. And a web server is basically a high-speed server. It has high bandwidth, it has 24/7 power supply. You could rent out the server from a hosting agency which have data centers with several servers just located in their data centers, and they maintain and manage everything for you. Another point to note is secure socket layers. This has become mandatory since 2018 to have SSL certificates installed.
Yeah, I suppose it was not mandatory as it was saying.
Right.
Yeah, but it's required.
It is required. It is mandatory right now.
No, I can have a website without.
We can have a discussion related to questions once my presentation is over. So secure socket layers is basically a security protocol that creates encrypted links between the web server and the web browser. It keeps online transactions and customer information private. Now, if you were to consider an SSL certificate to be a door and the web server to be a house, the SSL certificate would be the door of the house. Without the door, you see a thief entering and stealing things from the house. But with the door in place, a thief cannot enter and exit the house. Okay. Private emails, another thing, a lot of my clients, a lot of people, they ask me what exactly is a private email. Just like every house has a letterbox, and if you have several people living in the same address, you have several letterboxes outside your house where the postman comes and puts a letter in so that the other person will collect the letter. So private email is basically a custom email address for your web server that you can receive and send information from. Coming back to the last point about web servers, this is an important point which a lot of people get confused, especially starters. Shared and dedicated servers. So let's say you're just one person staying inside a building. You don't need the entire resources of the building, right? Because the building is going to be costly, and if you rent out the entire building, you're just going to burn a big hole in your pocket. So you basically rent out an apartment in the building, you rent out a flat, and then you share, then other people, other tenants rent out flats in the same building. So it is more economic, and you don't utilize the entire resources of the building. Now, say for example, you're in an office and there are a lot of people inside the same office, you will need the entire building because it's a lot of resources are being used and you need a lot of space, right? So that is where dedicated servers come into play. Okay, so dedicated server has more resources, and a shared server has shared resources between different customers within the same hosting space. Now I'll discuss about WordPress. What exactly is WordPress? WordPress is a content management system, and it allows you to build websites. It has a template system, it has a plugin architecture. And using the template system, you can design any type of website, and using the plugin architecture, you can extend the website and make it into anything. You can build blogs, portfolios, online stores. WordPress isn't just a plugin. This is an important point because a lot of people who come to me, they ask me like, can I use a different platform? Can I use custom code? And I tell them no, WordPress is very capable. WordPress isn't just for blogging. Okay, the reason being, WordPress sites on the internet, like around 40-45% websites on the internet, they utilize WordPress. 60% of the other sites use different CMS platforms and different web builder tools or custom websites. Even the most popular websites such as the White House, the Walt Disney Company, BBC America, and NASA GOV use WordPress as their base software. .org versus .com. Another common misconception is what exactly is WordPress.org and what exactly is WordPress.com. So WordPress.org is the software that is the open source software on which WordPress runs, and it is self-hosted. You have to self-host the entire platform. So it's a self-hosted system, and you have to maintain your own domain name, you have to maintain your own server, you have to maintain the updates and the security of your own website. Whereas WordPress.com is a SaaS product, and it comes inbuilt into the WordPress.com system. So if you just buy a plan, WordPress automatically sets up the WordPress installation for you. It automatically links a domain for you, and then you can manage and update the website directly from there. So you won't have to worry about managing your server, your website going down, or renewals and stuff like that. So once you install and manage WordPress, this is the dashboard that you usually see. And using this dashboard, you can manage your website, and you can add plugins, you can add themes, you can make changes to the website. So this is the screen that you're going to see most of the times, and this is where you're going to manage and do anything that you want on the website. 5 important things to know as a beginner. These are 5 important things, like if you're just getting started into web design and if you're just going to build a website with WordPress. It's important to know all of these 5 components: themes, plugins, layouts, pages and posts. Especially pages and posts, because a lot of people get confused when they're building a WordPress website. Should I build it on a page or should I build it on a post? They get really confused about it. So WordPress out of the box is pretty bland and it comes with the default theme. Right now they are building block themes, which is the default 2024 block theme, and this is what it looks like. Other than the default themes, you can install themes from the theme directory by going to appearances and themes. And in the theme directory, you will find GPL 3.0 compatible themes, which are completely free. But then again, these are free themes and they don't give you a lot to do with the website. Other than that, you have third-party themes. Now, third-party themes would have like a price range of say $39 to $59, and these themes are really extendable. They have starter size, they are multi-purpose themes, they come bundled with a lot of plugins. Now, a lot of these plugins might be bloatware, but you could remove the plugins. But using these themes, anyone, I would say anyone, could actually design a website within minutes, because they have like every blog that you need, every system that you need, all inbuilt into the theme. So if you're building a news website, you could select a theme that goes well with a news website. If you're building a multi-purpose agency website, you could choose a multi-purpose theme that goes well with a multi-purpose website. Plugins. So plugins are basically small pieces of software that extend the functionality of a WordPress website. And utilizing plugins, you could adjust your website and make add small features such as contact forms on the website. You could even add plugins to extend features and add features such as e-commerce stores, portfolio systems, and extend the capabilities of your WordPress installation. Now, while designing the website, there's 3 main components that you need to understand about every website. The first is the header, the second is the body, and the third is the footer. The header is the first thing that you see on most websites. It's usually fixed. It has a logo, it has a navigation bar, and it's optional to have a CTA on the website. The header will allow you to navigate throughout the entire website. The second part is the body. The body is where you'll be doing most of your design work. Most of the page builders would work within the body section. You can design anything on the body. You can add text, you can add media, content files, design multiple layouts on the body. The last part is a footer. A footer basically has basic information such as copyrights and sitemaps. It can also contain quick links that allow you to navigate the website once you reach the bottom part of the website. Now, the most important part while designing a website on WordPress is understanding the concept between pages and posts. Pages are different. They are usually static content that don't change a lot over time. So if you were to consider like a page on the website, it would be about us page, the contact us page, the home page, the blog page. But what exactly is post? Post is dynamic content. These are basically news articles and things that have particular functionality on it. So posts can be embedded into the WordPress pages, and if you were to have a blog section like similar to this section, you would see that featured news is basically the posts on the website and the featured news is the page. Custom post types. This is important when you are extending the capabilities of posts on a WordPress installation. So WordPress by default has the post type, and the post type will allow you to create blogs. But what if you wanted to add specific functionality? Like if you were to have a portfolio system, you would need to display particular content that keeps changing over time. If you had a shopping system, you would need to display the price of the product, the colors, the variations of the product. So that is a different post type, and WordPress allows you to extend post types by creating custom post types using several different plugins or custom code. Blog themes and FSE. So right now we're going to discuss about how you can design a website on WordPress, and there are multiple ways of going about it, and right now this is the most popular way of going about it, which is blog themes and FSE. So blog themes are basically the new themes that WordPress has developed, and it is compatible with the full site editor, which is FSE. So FSE is basically what you see is what you get editor, and anything that you design using the FSE editor will be directly showing up on the browser. So if you design something in the mobile view, that is exactly what you'll get on the mobile view when you publish the site. A popular way of designing websites with WordPress is using page builders. As I said previously, most WordPress themes that you purchase, third-party themes, come with themed page builders pre-installed already, and most of these page builders, they have blogs that are already designed as per the theme. But if you were not installing a theme, you could install a default theme, or you could install a free theme. And page builders such as Elementor and Site Origin, they allow you to create the site, drag and drop, basically what you say is a modular editor. And they have pre-made modules that you can just drag onto the page and edit it and build your website with no code in no time. So this is basically, like I said, how you design a website using page builders. You will see that they have several modules on this side, and you could drag any of these modules such as sections, columns, text, media, images, and everything, and design your website. You could also import pre-made starter sites using Elementor, and then you could modify the text and the media on the site and build your own one. The dashboard is basically where you'll be spending most of your time. I'm repeating this because there's much more things that you can manage. Like once you understand and once you build your website, you want to arrange your website. So you will be managing menus from here, you'll be managing categories from here. You'll also be managing permalinks, which is important for creating the structure and the linking of the website. Now once you're done, I would like you to check out this website. This is WordPress is official resource, and it's constantly updated, especially with the new blog themes and with the new tutorials for FSE. So you can go to wordpress.com/learn and study more if you're just getting started. So these are really concise tutorials, and they help you understand the core concepts of WordPress.
Are these free?
Yeah.
Are these free tutorials?
These are free tutorials, yes. So that's about me, and thanks for coming to the WordPress Meetup. If you like, you can get in touch with me at my email address if you want to communicate with me. And if you like this and you missed out something, or you want to see something again, this same session has been recorded by me and is published on my YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you check out my channel, you will be able to see the video, the one that I just gave, the same presentation. So if the time is right, I don't exactly know what time it is. So it should be published by now. Right? Yeah. You want to understand it better, you can go there and you can get in touch with me if you have any other queries. So that's my entire presentation again. Thank you for having me here, and thank you, Subrata. He's busy. Thank you, WordPress team, for selecting me as a speaker. So I'll just go sit down. Subrata, very good.
Yeah. Okay, if you have any questions for Greg, you can ask.
Yeah, if you have any
a
questions.
platform.
So I have a couple of questions. One is you told about CMS. So CMS. Can you explain what is CMS and why WordPress is called a CMS?
Okay, so I'll explain to you why exactly WordPress is called a CMS.
First, what is CMS?
Okay, so a CMS is a content management system, and WordPress is called CMS because it allows you to maintain your content and modify your content. If you were to make a custom site, let's say on HTML, every time you go to update the website, you would have to go into the website code and you would have to make changes directly into the code. And as a layman, you would not be able to do that. So WordPress makes it easier by giving a system called a CMS that allows you to manage and maintain your code. And not only manage and maintain your code, it also helps you to extend the functionality of your WordPress website.
Can it happen like if I use WordPress and instead of using it builders, I can build the whole website on JavaScript or HTML? Can I do it?
So if you were to build the entire website on JavaScript and HTML, you wouldn't need WordPress at all. You'd be custom coding your website, right?
No, you told it's a CMS. It's to maintain the code, right?
WordPress is built around the CMS platform, okay, but it is not a custom coding system. Okay, so your website is powered by CMS, and you can maintain and manage your WordPress website by CMS. It's an ecosystem. Okay.
maybe I will have to learn one more question.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest if I am a customer, like I need a website to be done by maybe any of my consultants? So how do I go? Should I go for buy a theme, or should I buy a good Elementor or something like that and get it designed? How do you which is
So it's a good
maintainability?
question. It's a really good question. Like I said earlier, WordPress is a platform and it is extendable using plugins and themes. Okay, so plugins and themes. So plugins are basically page builders. It still comes under WordPress. Okay, and if you were to hire an external consultant or a developer, it would make sense to get the website built on WordPress, because if you're getting it custom coded, then say for example your developer leaves you after 1 year or after 6 months, maybe after 2 years. Okay, you will basically lose out on the website. Whatever content you have on the website, you will not be able to manage, you will not be able to update. Okay, so WordPress makes it easy. So say for example, after you build your website on WordPress, you choose to fire your designer leaves you, you can hire someone else, and that someone else will be able to manage your WordPress website.
You mean to say custom coding is better than as compared to buying a theme?
No. What I'm trying to say is building your website on WordPress is easier than making it on custom code. WordPress involves themes, plugins, and everything.
I would, instead of building on the something like Elementor, you can build it with the Elementor without any theme, right?
So Elementor themes are all equal to WordPress. Okay, these are add-ons that you can install into WordPress.
Understand me. I hired a developer. Okay, he gives me two options. He tells me to buy a theme, maybe one of the known theme. Okay, the other option he gives me is that he will build it on some builder. Let it be any good builder like Elementor or XYZ. I need to either buy a theme or I need to buy a builder. So how do you suggest? How should I go?
So what I'm understanding is either your developer is making your website using a page builder, or either your developer is making your website using a theme. Themes already have page builders, and page builders can be used standalone without themes also to build your website. Now, as long as your ecosystem is within the WordPress architecture, you don't have anything to worry about. But if you're custom coding your website, I think that's not what you want, then you have something to worry about. But as long as it's within the WordPress ecosystem, whichever way your developer chooses to go, it should be fine. Okay. You had a question about SSL.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask me.
Basically, I didn't have a question. You told SSL is mandatory.
Right.
I told it is optional. Google wants you to use SSL. But it is not mandatory that if you don't use SSL, your website won't work.
Yeah, so basically, obviously, in that way, it isn't mandatory, but your website wouldn't load at all. You can
No,
get
who
sales.
says? I can create a website right now and it will work without SSL.
It will work without SSL, but nobody would be able to visit it, right?
No,
It is mandatory.
you will be able to visit it. I will be able to visit it.
I'll be able to visit it if I go to the advanced section and if I proceed.
Like if you use security message.
Yes, sir.
It is
Mr. Adivant Saha.
The what is recommended?
Fine, what is the
SSL is
what?
recommended, and if you use Google Chrome and not have a SSL, you cannot access it.
No, you can.
No, what we are talking about is expired SSL. You are talking about expired SSL. When an SSL expires, then you see that advanced option.
Right now, if I create
Otherwise, if the site doesn't have any SSL, I think anybody can visit.
Anybody can visit, that is true. Like Adivant Saha pointed out, anybody can visit, but it is recommended to have an SSL certificate, because why would you put your customers through the hassle of seeing a web page? It basically affects your brand and your domain, right?
I have a question.
Yes.
So if a person does not have SSL,
Right.
which is also okay, will the website open if a user is using, say, Mozilla Firefox or some other browser?
That is a good question. Like I said earlier, and like as you pointed out, it is not mandatory, but it is recommended.
Now, will it open on Mac?
It will open, a lot of content might not load, and firstly, as soon as you try to open the website, it would show you an insecure website alert. You would have to you would have to bypass that alert.
Still does.
It still does. Once you bypass it, once it will not show again, but it will still show.
The alert appears after
Yes.
if you have an expired SSL.
And just to add,
No.
If you have a zero SSL, that won't affect. That won't
Zero SSL is definitely into something else, but we are sticking to the same topic. So once you enter into the website, Another thing that might affect is that your CSS files and JavaScript files will not load securely over an insecure SSL. So your website will be looking like a blank page. Okay, if without the CSS working, you will not have any design or appearance on the website. You could show me like
And I
different
told him,
things.
with
They are
CSS.
different possibilities. Okay, but why would you even want to run a website without an SSL service? There are many questions in the tech world and there are many possibilities.
Simple question like you
Yeah,
have some
go ahead.
SSL which are free, like Let's Encrypt, and there are some SSL
Correct.
that are paid. So like what's the difference? I personally don't know.
So that is another good question. So a free SSL is basically a shared SSL. So you could get one on Cloudflare. So a shared SSL is similarly like a shared hosting. A lot of different websites use the same SSL. Okay, so if one site is affected by that SSL or gets blacklisted, it would automatically blacklist the other sites as well. So that is the only difference.
Even Let's Encrypt is there.
Let's Encrypt is not shared SSL, but it expires after every 90 days, if I'm not wrong.
90 days.
I could be wrong, but after every 90 days, unless you have auto SSL enabled on your cPanel hosting, you would have to renew it manually and install it again.
Yeah, so if someone had like auto renewed it, okay,
Yeah.
I'm using Let's Encrypt as vice versa a paid SSL. So it's equal. There is no, I mean to say from any type of features point of view. Is it
From
something?
a feature point of view, what you're getting is validation for your website, so that you can visit your website and you can enter into the website. Okay, but there are different higher SSL plans for a reason. Higher SSL plans provide you, it is like an insurance. Okay, so higher SSL plans will have like an insurance policy along with it, so that if your website, like if you're having an e-commerce store and if your e-commerce store gets hijacked, okay, the insurance company who has provided you this SSL certificate will provide you that money back, that amount of money. Okay.
That's what I want to get.
Right. Good question. Any other questions?
Coming back to your DNS part, what's the relation between name server and DNS? What's the relation between name server and DNS?
So, domain name server is called DNS, and if you go in depth into DNS, which is out of scope for this, in depth into DNS would mean that you could add multiple A name, C name records and different records such as mail exchange records and everything. That basically is the information that's linked to your domain name if you have additional features and things that you want to connect.
There is a, no, I will answer you. So there is a difference between name server and DNS. So one is telling A record, triple A record, other DNS from where you can visit the website. What happens? Name server means where you have put it. You have put it on GoDaddy. These information you have put on GoDaddy, digital version of somewhere. So pointing when the DNS is good, like you put google.com, it will point, okay, these information are stored at GoDaddy or BlackRock or what digital version. That is what
What's the relationship between these?
name server tells where your DNS information is.
One is the name server,
Yeah.
and DNS system is the indexing way of putting it the DNS server. That is, you can divide the DNS records into different parts and use it according to your convenience. That's it.
Sure.
WordPress আমরা plugin যে ইনস্টল করা হয় সাপোজ আপডেট ফিচার যেমন একটা লিমিট যে একটা হোস্টিং এর একটা র‍্যাম বা এরকম সামথিং আমরা আপডেট করি এটা তো অটোমেটিক স্পেসটা বেড়ে যায় যখন আপডেট করার পরে তো ওটা তো সলিউশনটা কি
So there is no such solution as that. ওটার জন্য কোনো solution নেই. ওটার জন্য you should take like a better hosting provider with more storage on it.
Or you need to upscale yourself.
Correct. So as your website grows, as the features in your website expand, as the themes in your website expand, you have more media content on it, you will have to upgrade your hosting provider, otherwise your website will get slow.
শেয়ার হোস্টিং or personal hosting
Like I said earlier, it depends on what exactly you're doing with your website. If you have a very big website with a lot of traffic, with a lot of features, you will go for dedicated hosting. Dedicated hosting is 10x times the price than shared hosting. Okay, and if you have like a basic website, like a 5-page website, even if you have a 10-20 page website, but you're getting like 30 visitors a day, I would recommend you shared hosting.
I would like to add something that dedicated hosting gives you an IP address, a dedicated IP address, which connects all your hard drives.
Correct.
If your server is maintaining your records in different hard drives, one dedicated IP will connect to all the hard drives, and it gives a more opportunity for the Google crawler to crawl the entire records and give you a better results on Google search, that is. So that is another advantage one should mention while mentioning the dedicated.
I'll agree with it, yes.
One small case I would like to share. Recently we were working with one client. On their website there were about 49 or more plugins. And
Okay.
all were outdated, and those had to be individually downloaded and updated. My teammate did that. But the WordPress version itself could not be upgraded. The developer who were previously handling it, they said that if they do that, then many of the design elements are getting messed up, and they might get lost. So it could not be updated. So the vulnerability remains. What could be a solution?
So this is an important thing to take into consideration when you're building any website. Firstly, make sure that the developer and the designer is using themes and plugins from reputed source and reputed developers. Okay, and make sure none of these themes and plugins are pirated. Like you mentioned, you have to manually upload the plugins. You have to manually upload it. The reason why you have to manually upload it is most likely because they were pirated plugins on the website. And that would not be the case if you had auto updates enabled. If it was an authentic plugin, it would automatically fetch the plugin from the database and install the new version of the plugin. Another reason why you cannot upload the WordPress, you cannot update your WordPress installation is because a lot of these plugins are from third-party developers who do not maintain the plugin anymore. And if you update the WordPress installation, your website would stop. So basically, your website is like right now, although you've updated quite a lot of it, it's still a ticking time bomb. And if you do not redesign your website or revamp your website, it's going to shut down one day or the other. Yes.
I have a question, Dipanita. Just a second. Just a second. I have a question, Dipanita. You said that you could not upgrade your WordPress core, right? Why is this? I mean, aren't you getting that update notification on your dashboard? Or the plugins are not giving you the update notification?
Because we're not showing the update.
No update notification.
We got the update notification. Once we updated, the site broke down. So we had to revert the
No, update what? Updated what? I mean, WordPress core?
Yes. Right.
Core.
So
What was the version you were running
6.1 to
previously?
6.5.2.
6.1 to?
To 6.5.2.
Oh, that is a huge gap. That's a huge gap.
That's like I
It's
think
very, very much
4 year
possible.
gap
That is the
between
problem which we
WordPress.
were-
So what should our honest feedback be, or suggestion would be to the client? Like, get it redesigned?
I would say I think like since you said it's WordPress 6.1, I think that's a long gap, and you should revamp the website and make sure everything is authentic. Yes.
You should hire him as a consultant.
I
Number
know.
one. Second is, I was listening to people around us. So, and she talked about plugins, right? If a small startup in Kolkata is trying to have a WordPress site for e-commerce purposes, what would your suggestion be? And if you have to compare, say, the best plugins in WordPress ecosystem and compare that with, say, Shopify, how would you do, and what would you recommend it for startups?
Okay. So having an e-commerce website on WordPress is a serious thing, and if you're going the e-commerce way and you're comparing to Shopify, I would recommend you to personally make your website on WordPress.com and don't make it self-hosted. The reason being is that WordPress.com has like a lot of features, and you have storage on it. They manage your CDN, they manage your email marketing. Okay, whereas if you're doing it on WordPress.org and you're self-hosting it, you'll have to pay for all these components such as email marketing separately, unless you're sending it via PHP mail. But then in PHP mail, a lot of the emails do end up in the spam box. I think the main thing that you should be concerned is about the email deliverability and your website loading fast. If you were doing it on shared hosting, you would need CDN and then you would need a dedicated email provider, so that to make sure that your emails reach the person who's buying your products, and to make sure that they don't bounce off the website because the website is slow. So I would personally recommend building it on WordPress.com. Yes.
What about security? Because e-commerce site will have payment options.
Right. So
and also scalability.
So irrespective of building your your website on WordPress.org or WordPress.com, you would, if you were building it on WordPress.org, you would need an SSL certificate. If you're building it on WordPress.com, their plan includes a good SSL certificate. So from the security point of view, your website is covered, and WordPress.com offers a bunch of good security features on their site. And the second thing you had asked?
Scalability.
Scalability, WordPress.com is scalable because if you feel that you have reached the limit of your plan, you can just upgrade the plan on WordPress.com.
And if you have to compare that with something like Shopify.
So Shopify is super expensive, and the only difference is that Shopify has a really good checkout system, but there's no reason why you cannot build the same checkout system on WordPress itself. WordPress is very capable, and you could use several third-party payment gateway
Maybe
plugins.
using things like resume or
You could utilize several payment gateways to extend the features and make the checkout procedure much more simplified on WordPress.com. The only selling point of Shopify is the checkout system, and it is really fast. Okay.
So scalability will not be a factor.
Scalability will not be a factor. Shopify is very expensive. If you want to even add the smallest feature on Shopify, you'll have to burn a big hole in your pocket.
Last question. I'm
Sure.
sorry for asking
No problem.
these many questions. Since you talked about Shopify checkout and I talked about scalability, you mentioned shared server. You mentioned dedicated server, but could we host this on say AWS?
Websites could be hosted anywhere. If you are looking at a dedicated server, then you could go with Amazon AWS, you could go with DigitalOcean, anything, Google Cloud. The only difference is that if you're doing it on AWS, if you're doing it on Google Cloud or DigitalOcean and platforms like this, you would have to maintain the server and you would have to install a lot of prerequisites that make it difficult for starters to get started.
In AWS, what do we have to maintain?
In AWS, if you were to maintain a WordPress setup, you would have to install PHP on your server, you would have to install the Apache engine on your server. So there are a lot of prerequisites that you would need to
So in
maintain.
dedicated servers, you do not have to do that?
In dedicated servers as well, you would have to do that unless the dedicated server comes with a cPanel. So most of the hosting providers that you would buy dedicated servers from, they have cPanel integrated into that. And cPanel comes with all the prerequisites such as PHP, Apache, and MySQL databases.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions?
Okay. See man, if you have money in your pocket, you can do anything.
Oh my God.